Hi guys, hope you're doing good. I just want to talk about generosity today, and this is because basically I had a word while I was driving to work like 2 weeks ago, I think it was. And by the way, I've just quit my job, which I hated, so I'm so happy. So just out here celebrating. Just thought I'd let you know. But yeah, anyway, so I was in the car driving to work like 2 weeks ago, and I normally just kind of say to God like each day, what's the word for today, or like what do you want to say to me today, just like stuff like that. And I felt like he said to me, I want you to give like you have nothing to lose. So I was kind of confused at the time because I didn't know like the context of that. Was it like, does he want me to like give financially, or like, I don't know. So I was kind of going throughout that day like asking him like more for more like deeper meaning and context, and just kind of praying it throughout the day. So yeah, I just want to share like what I've got from that word and like what are my thoughts on that. So yeah, I would like to think that I'm a pretty generous kind of person. Like I'll happily like give if I can give, I will give. And like I'll give money, I'll give time, or like whatever. If someone is in need, I'll like be willing to help out usually. And yeah, so this was something that I've like gradually got better at, because I would say in the past I kind of was a little bit selfish maybe and wasn't as generous as I am today. So it was definitely something I had to work on, but I think I'm pretty much getting there now. Like I'm not like the best I could be, I'm still working on it. But yeah, so these are some things that I've been thinking about recently, so I'm just going to share those. So I just thought this Bible verse was really good, because I had it on my mind at the same kind of time that I was thinking about generosity. That's why I think it kind of relates. So yeah, it's Matthew 5, and it's in Passion Translation. And it says, "Your lives light up the world. Let others see your light from a distance. For how can you hide a city that stands on a hilltop? And who would light a lamp and then hide it under an obscure place? Instead, it's a place where everyone in the house can benefit from its light. So don't hide your light. Let it shine brightly before others, so that the commendable things you do will shine as light upon them, and then they will give their praise to your Father in heaven." So I think this verse is really good, like when you're talking about being generous, because it's kind of saying like what we've been given. Like we've got Jesus in us as Christians, and like we've got the blessing of God on us, and like we've got his light in us, and he's given us like all these gifts and all this like ability to be a light in the darkness, because there's a lot of trouble and a lot of problems in the world. But we've got this light, and like if we have this light, why would we hide it? It's like putting a light under a bucket, like it says in the verse. Like why would we hide it? Why would we not bring the light to others? So it's like us like talking to others about our faith and sharing like our personal struggles that we've been through, and like being vulnerable, and like just sharing and like giving people advice, and like just wanting to help people because we're able to. And like if we have that ability to help someone to be free, to encourage someone because of what we have, like why would we not take that opportunity? So that's kind of what it's saying here. I also think this verse is really important. It's 2 Corinthians 9:7, which says, "Each of you should give what you have decided to give in your heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." And this is like saying like you should be happy to give what you're giving. You shouldn't be giving it like and thinking like giving money and being like, oh, I wish I didn't have to give this, I'd rather use it for myself. And like we shouldn't be like that. We should be happily giving to others because we want to see them blessed. Like we want to see the increase on that person and not for ourselves, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it says God loves a cheerful giver. So he wants us to give out of like kindness and compassion for others because we want to, not because we have to. So this is like the way that we should give. So I just want to share some of my experiences in this kind of area. So while I was in America studying like 2 years ago, I think, yeah, I was going through a time when I kind of was holding on to money, and I was kind of like, I didn't want to spend it, and I was kind of getting a bit of a problem, and I was like, I just wanted all my money like to be on myself. Like I was just saving it, I didn't want to spend it, and it was kind of a fearful way that I was acting. And like especially because I wasn't working at the time, and it was like just I was living basically off my savings. and off donations. So that made me even more kind of fearful about it, and I was like using everything that I had like at home so sparingly. And then God spoke to me one time, and he kind of said to me like, why are you living like that? Like, why are you using everything so sparingly, and why are you not using as much as you should? And I was like, good question. And I was kind of, I was afraid to use a lot because I was afraid of running out, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to have enough for myself. And it was like a fear thing that I had. So I had to obviously work through that. And then, like, I think it was a few weeks later, God started to talk to me about like giving to people, like financially, and like giving my time, just being generous with people. So one time he spoke to me really clearly. Like, I heard that someone like needed like money for, I think it was a trip or something. They didn't have quite enough to like meet the amount they needed, and he said to me like instantly, I want you to pay that off in full. And I was like, what? Because I didn't have a job and I like didn't have an income. I was like, I don't know if I can do that. I was like, what if I don't have enough for myself? And then it clicked, and I was like, yeah, that's my way of thinking again. Like, I know that's not right, that needs to go. So yeah, I ended up paying for this person's trip, and I kind of felt like unsure about it at the time. But then after I did it, I was like, no, I did the right thing. Like, that's what Jesus would have done. Jesus would have gone to that person and seen a person in need and helped them. And I didn't really take like a big loss from it, like necessarily. So it wasn't like it was really a big burden to me. It's like I could manage it. And yeah, that was just something I needed to work on. And then after that, there was like another train of like small like giving areas, like where I had opportunities to give to people, to help people out, and I would just take them readily because I knew I needed to take the hard step so that I could get better at it, so I could become more generous. And now I really have become more generous because I just took the hard steps like at the beginning, and then it just became so much easier. Yeah, and Proverbs even says the generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. And it also says, give freely and become more wealthy. Be stingy and lose everything. So that's a good point, and that's like a good thing to think about. And like God's saying, like if we give, like He'll give to us. Like the more we give, the more we'll be given to. And like He'll just take care of us. Like we don't need to worry about that. He wants us to give in abundance and be generous, and like give in like out of a kind heart, and not give out of a place of fear and like a feeling like we have to. And if we do that, then it says like we'll become more wealthy, and that's how it is. So we don't need to worry about that. Like I was worrying about it before, and now I know I don't need to worry about it, like because God's gonna take care of me. Like He always has. I've never been like in poverty, like even if I've like struggled for a little while, but He's always taken care of me, like not just financially, like in every way. And like we need to trust that He's going to take care of us and not like worry about stuff like that, because we should just pray. If we feel worried, we should just pray and not just carry that burden upon ourselves. And a really important way that I've been thinking about recently that we can be generous is like mainly with our time. So like, what are we doing with our time? Like we often say like, oh, I'm too busy, I can't do this, but like, are you actually that busy? Like if something's important, like you can make time for it. Like that's just how it is. Like if you make time for someone, that is like one of the best ways to be generous, because like you can't get time back. Like you can get money back, you can spend money, you can get it back, but time, you can't get that back. So like, what are you doing with your time? Like you could be using it to like mentor someone, to help someone. Like if you've been through something and like you've got out of it, like you've got through a struggle, you could be using your time to help someone else like get through that struggle because you've got experience in that area. So you could be using your time to help that person get out of a dark place, and that's a very good way of being generous. I also just want to read this verse because I think this is so good and so helpful. It's 2 Corinthians 9:6, and it says, remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. So yeah, that speaks for itself really. Like that is so important. Like if we're going to be stingy and like not generous, then what we're going to get back from that like is like stingy and not generous, because like say for farmers like sowing seeds in the field, like if he only sows like a few seeds, he's going to get a small harvest, whereas if he sows a lot of seeds, there's a lot of growth happening, there's more, and he's going to reap a big harvest, obviously. So it's the same, it's like you give, like what you give is what you get, really. Like you're going to get in return for what you've given to others. I know you might be thinking that that sounds like really cliche, like, oh yeah, that's what it says there, like it's a saying but it doesn't actually happen. But I'm here to tell you that it does happen, because it happened to me, and like I experienced it, and it was crazy and it was amazing. So yeah, it was while I was in America, and after the time where I'd been like giving generously, I was listening to God, and I'd done it like consistently for a while. And I was obviously I was giving my tithes at church like weekly, and I was blessing people with like money and with time, and like, and I was really like, it was something I was really working on and focusing on. And I think it was 2 weeks after that it started happening, like it started like coming back to me, like, so it'd be from the smallest things, like I'd be in the coffee line in the coffee shop, and the person like behind or in front would be like, oh, I just want to pay for your coffee today, or like, I want to pay for your food today. And I was like, okay. Yeah, and it happened like quite a few times. It was quite like, it was really cool. I was like, wow, thank you so much. I didn't know what, like, how to react. Then it was even like bigger things, like I went on a weekend away trip, like, and we were like on a budget, and it was like quite tight, obviously, because we weren't working. And like someone like actually so kindly like paid for my whole weekend away trip, like gas money, everything. Like I was so grateful at this point. Like if you're watching, you know who you are, you're amazing, I love you. And also it was like when I was at, I think it was at the hotel as well, like something weird happened with my card, and I ended up like getting refunded for my hotel as well, and it was really crazy. And then I also got another free hotel, like again, like just like a few weeks after that. Like I didn't pay for any of my hotels, any of my gas money, like even food, like it was just all given to me like miraculously. And like it was like amazing. So like that just shows you like it does happen, like if you have faith for it and you're doing it out of a good heart, and like you genuinely want to be like a cheerful giver, like it will come back to you, because it came back to me and it was amazing. So yeah, I just really encourage you in that area, like it's definitely worth it. And I just want to finish on something that was like really touched me, that God like showed me when I was thinking about like giving, like I've got nothing to lose, that word that I started with. It was like, it was actually like, why do I do that, like why do I give that, like I have nothing to lose. And he like spoke to me and said, like, because you don't, because all your treasure is in heaven. Like your treasure is not here on earth, like your treasure is not in earthly possessions, like that's not the focus here, like your treasure is in heaven. And he spoke to me about this in the past a lot of times, and I found it really hard to like trust in that area, like because I struggled obviously, like thinking I'm not gonna have enough or whatever. But like I'm learning to trust now, and like yeah, like he's right, like all of our treasure is in heaven. Like what we do for money, like it doesn't count for anything. Like if we're talking about eternity, like our treasure is in heaven. Like what are we storing up for ourselves in heaven by our acts on earth? Like are we like living a good life? Are we being generous? Are we helping people? Like I always think, what would Jesus do? Because Jesus was like the most generous person like there ever was. Like what would he do? Are we living like that, or are we being selfish and keeping all of our money for ourselves? Like, you know, it's your choice. Like what are you going to do about it? Like what are you going to do with your finances, with your time, with your energy, like with what you have? Like what are you going to invest that in? That's like a really big thing, especially for me now after I've really thought about that. So yeah, this was kind of hard for me to talk about, because it was an area that I actually struggled with like for a while, but obviously I'm getting better. I'm not amazing, but I'm getting better. So I just wanted to share it because it's been on my mind for a while, and you might have seen my blog post about it like recently. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. So I hope that it's helped you and encouraged you, and I hope it's given you something to think about, which is what I wanted. Like I think it's definitely something like that's worth thinking about, and thinking, can we be better in this area? Like can we help more people? Because obviously we want to help people, especially now when people, like a lot of people are struggling right now with like problems and like not being able to get out, like just like think what can you do for someone to like make their day and to really bless them and just to help them out, you know, even if it's something really small, like just taking someone like a coffee around or just like sending them a message and like just to bless them, see how they're doing, you know, like what can you do, like it's definitely worth the thought. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video and stay tuned for the next one, whenever that will be. Thanks for watching, bye.